Guys, I have some bad news. This week, we are lacking or slacking one Slick. I have to edit this week's episode myself, so my apologies if it's not up to snuff. Slick is out there living his life, touching some grass with the family, which is always so important. Now, speaking of grass, do you know who eats grass? Cows. And you know who doesn't actually eat grass? Video game cows. But you know who still cares about them just as much? PETA. PETA is pissed, wasting everyone's time complaining about the cows in all things Mario Kart. Because why? They have a ring in the cow's nose. No, you didn't hear me wrong. And while PETA is wasting everyone's time with that bull, the rest of the video game community is all focused on one thing, and that is cheating in the Battlefield 6 beta. This week, this clip came out from Riley CS.
Wow, I flicked straight at that guy through the wall. Oopsie.
Now, the whole video game community was up in roar because some people thought they were cheating.
Dude, you could clearly see him on the minimap.
Others clearly thought not.
Clearly on the minimap.
But the thing is through the clip, you could see the quick flick. The person that they're shooting at is behind cover. It becomes a question because the actual character that is being represented is covering up the mini map and you can't see what.
Also, what's with the cat ears?
There is that question.
There's clearly
I don't have the answer to that. Why are we worried about that?
What's with the cat ears?
Fine, you can ask that question too.
Thank you. What's with the cat ears?
But yeah, there's an uproar because some people are saying this is absolutely cheating. Others are saying there's not. Others are saying the anti-cheat for Battlefield 6 is working or isn't working. And then the ban from Twitch happened. So in other words, this was the entire uproar of the community. But while everyone was arguing about whether or not this was cheating, the rest of the community was talking about PlayStation versus Xbox, Battlefield versus Call of Duty, and the traditional news that we cover every single week. Oh yeah, there was also Roblox. We'll cover the Roblox thing as well. But that's what we do here, video game news. Everyone, welcome to the weekly reload. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your favorite gaming news show that comes out every single Sunday. This week is no different than any other. We got PlayStation versus Xbox. We got Roblox and the world pretty much mad at them. Then, of course, some Call of Duty versus Battlefield coming later on. But first things first, let's talk about PlayStation. So they had their investor call this week, and we found out that so far, there has been 80.2 million PlayStation 5 units sold, which is huge. It means they're doing incredibly good, which makes a lot of sense because what has been going on with Xbox is they've essentially given up on their hardware. They have gone all in on Game Pass and their Play Anywhere model, where PlayStation has still been focused on releasing big exclusives and therefore selling their console. Now, the other focus that PlayStation has had is with their live service games. Now, here's the thing. The launch of their live service games has really not been going so well. They've had the one win with Helldivers 2, but of course that is now out on everything. Other than that, Concord was an absolute mess, and then the other one, the one that they're currently working on, being Marathon. Now, they specifically said that things have not gone according to plan, and no one is really surprised about that. But here's the other thing. When Marathon was brought up during this investor call, this is what they said. They believe that the launch will happen. They need to make a revision to some of their earnings projections. So in other words, they actually don't know whether or not Marathon is going to come out at all, completely. We literally do not know anymore. And this comes into play with what we have heard about Bungie as of late. So when Bungie was purchased by Sony, it was clear that the leadership of Bungie was going to stay internal. Whoever the CEOs of Bungie are, they were going to continue to be them. However, what has happened with Marathon and quite literally stealing assets, and what has gone down with Destiny slowly falling apart, and really there's been zero announcement or even zero talk about a Destiny 3, it is clearer than ever that the management and the higher-ups at Bungie are not doing their job. So what we've heard lately is that PlayStation, specifically Sony, maybe taking over those leadership positions. Now, I truly do not believe that Bungie will get dissolved altogether. However, what will most likely happen is that leadership role will be taken over by Sony. There's going to be more oversight, and I would be willing to bet further pushes into those live service games, but the one that would make the most sense is Destiny 3. Now, probably the darkest thing currently going on in video games is what is going on with Roblox. Now, I'm no expert in this field, but I tried to keep informed. This all started because of a YouTuber by the name of Schlep. Schlep was someone that, let's just say, went into Roblox and started to hunt down pedophiles. I think you can figure out what I'm talking about there, not to get demonetized. Now, as far as doing this, he quite literally went into the game, hunted them down, and caught them, sent them to the police. The police did an internal investigation, and then these people ended up getting arrested. Now, even after they got arrested, Roblox didn't ban them until a much longer time later. Now, what happened is Roblox sent Schlep a cease and desist letter telling him to stop his investigations and doing what they were doing. This was all in line with saying it was counterintuitive to what Roblox was doing behind the scenes. Now, them saying this just pointed a light on what they were actually doing to stop this kind of behavior. Now, in all of this, we found out that Roblox has 85 million daily active users, and half of the people in the United States under the age of 16 are playing Roblox. Those numbers are absolutely outstanding, which makes Roblox a perfect cesspool for this kind of behavior. So all of the spotlights with one move got turned on what they were doing to stop this kind of behavior. And lo and behold, it was almost nothing. Roblox, a community-driven game where people could make their own servers and their own games, had many games like a bathroom line simulator, bathroom simulator, shower simulator, and a bunch of things that really people under the age of 16 should not be having their hands on. And these were just public things that you could search for, obviously causing a very big uproar within the community. Now, since then, they have made announcements as to what they were going to do to counter this, but if anything, it just shed a light on what is going on here. And at the end of the day, put a pretty solid ding in their stock, but if you didn't already know, the company is worth about 90 billion with the B dollars. Yeah, you probably didn't know exactly how big Roblox actually was. Now, speaking of massive companies, this is when we get into the Battlefield. If you didn't already know, Battlefield 6 had its second week of its beta. Now, this is a fully open beta. You don't have to pre-order the game to play it, and the player numbers remained pretty stable, right around 300,000 players on Steam, which means many more playing on console and everything like that. The beta was a massive success, with week 2 seeing a little bit more problems with netcode and things like that, but even amongst those, the player numbers remaining right around that 300,000 mark, putting a damper on what everything that Black Ops 7 has done, because this week they're trying to build up to the reveal that is coming this week on August 19th. They put out the new guild teaser, kind of showing off who the bad guy in the game is going to be, all leading up to teasers with Raul Menendez within Warzone, but the eyes are just all on Battlefield. And I think there's a solid reason for this. If you look from the outside in, last year we had the Truth Lies teaser, which had to do with Saddam Hussein, Bill Clinton, and these real world things. Lo and behold, when Black Ops 6 comes out, nobody cares because it has nothing to do with anything that they just promoted. So when people see this kind of viral marketing that they're put out, the question is the game going to be anything like what we are seeing here? And the answer to that is almost certainly not. But here's the thing. Call of Duty is still going to sell tens of millions of copies, and if we go back to what we began to talk about with the PlayStation's live service model, really the biggest bread and butter live service that Xbox has on their plate is Call of Duty. It's what they spent all of those billions of dollars on a few years ago, and now, is it going to reap the rewards? We don't know. However, today we found out from industry analyst Michael Patcher that he had a conversation with the GM of Battlefield, and they have stated that they are focused on making Battlefield, like Call of Duty, a yearly release, essentially doing the exact same thing that Call of Duty does, with a new game every single year 3 different studios working on a game and having a 3-year development cycle. He also said that that plan is 5 to 6 years out, but they're pushing for that yearly release model, something we've seen Battlefield try to do before, but I don't know. I don't think it's technically good for the game whatsoever. But again, it appears as though this Battlefield versus Call of Duty battle, if you will, is going to continue to rage on for years to come. Now, as far as things to come out this week, the first thing that we had was Madden 26. If you didn't know this, Madden is a football game, American football at that. In it, you play as an NFL player or players or team. It's about football, and it's exactly the same as every other year that it come out. However, the critic ratings on OpenCritic are coming in at 79%, which is pretty solid. I'm really not surprised about that one. I thought it would maybe be closer to like a 75, but people seem to be enjoying it. Surprise, surprise, it's a Madden game. The opposite of that, however, is a new game to come out this week called Dragon Drive. Now, if you've played, well, let's just say a FIFA game, or you played Rocket League, this game is like those, but also not like those, because you're in a wheelchair and you're using the new motion controls on the Nintendo Switch 2 controllers, but apparently they really don't work very well, and on top of that, the game is not fun. And the crazy part about this is that this game is only about $20 to purchase. However, the ratings on this are sitting at a 65% on OpenCritic, which really isn't good, and only 13% of critics actually recommend it. In other words, it's not so good. Now, as far as this week, we don't have any video games coming out this week, but what we do have is we're gonna have a whole bunch of announcements, because this week is Gamescom. There is the opening night live, which is the trailer fest that Jeff Keighley puts on. After that, we have a Xbox press conference, and there's gonna be many more little conferences to come out as well. Tons of trailers, tons of announcements. We'll be covering all of that this week, so make sure you're subscribed. As far as games that are coming out next, on August 26th, we have Gears of War Reloaded. On the 28th, we have another remastered game. The Snake Eater or Metal Gear Solid Delta is coming out on the 28th. So 2 games coming up. So that is all of the news that we've had this week. I tried to keep it plain and simple. I was lacking one slick, which meant the editing of this one probably wasn't up to snuff, but I did my best. Hopefully I made Slick proud. As always, thanks for watching. This week's going to be a big week, so stay tuned, notifications, subscribe, and until next time, peace.